Hi, I'm Debbie Levitt, CXO of Delta CX. We're a full-service consultancy and agency helping companies of all sizes and startups with strategies, initiatives, decisions, products, and services. We're focused on customer experiences and customer centricity. We help companies balance customer needs with business goals, agility, and being lean. You can learn more about our projects, services, and training on our website, customercentricity.com. I've been consistently in the work for nearly 30 years. I mention this not to brag, but because I see so many books and training from people who stopped doing the work years ago, never did the work, or send juniors to do the work. I'm still personally doing all of it, and some people on my team have been doing it even longer than I have. Thanks to our Patreon members who allow us to make these webinars free and frequent. Welcome to all of you. We are going to jump right in on our webinar. This will be episode 194 on the YouTube channel when it's posted in about 2 weeks. First, our patrons will get it first. And of course, I want to thank all of our patrons for joining. Special thanks to them. And you can see your name in lights too if you would like to join the Patreon. But yeah, let me know whether or not you heard the opening video audio. I will need to check on that. I couldn't hear the opening video, but you heard me. Okay, I will have to fix that later. Thank you so much. Okay, so today our episode is, how much money is it worth to lose a customer? So that means we're going to be talking about a little bit of math, kind of where math meets some business strategy. And since the chat isn't working right now, and I'm sorry about that, first webinar of the series, we will have to do better next time. Please put questions in the Q&A. That is working. And I'm going to be reading an article that I wrote on Medium. Of course, if you like it, you can always Google for it, find it on Medium, share it out. But I'd love to hear some of your questions and some of your comments. So like any presentation, I'm going to read through it first, and then we can turn this into a discussion. And we'll try to have this run about 25 minutes if possible. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can read along with me, if you'd like. All right, so I'm going to read through, and again, I'll take a look for the Q&A after, but here we go. So this is how much money is worth losing a customer. You can find it on Medium, so Google for that, please. Every company wants to attract new customers, make them happy, and keep them. We claim to care about customer loyalty, and we love to survey people to see if they're likely to recommend us to friends. But when they have a problem, how far will we go to resolve it in the customer's favor? If a customer wanted a $5,000 refund that we didn't think they fully deserved, is it worth refunding them to keep that customer? What if they wanted a $500 refund or a $50 refund? What amount are we willing to spend to retain a customer even when we believe they're in the wrong or don't deserve the refund? We should be clear on this number, and then we need to train and empower our customer support staff to be able to make the call and offer a partial or complete refund. We might calculate this number based on average customer lifetime value, CLV. If our CLV is 5,000, it doesn't make sense to give a $5,000 refund to keep one customer. If our CLV is $10,000 and they want a $500 refund that we don't think they deserve, it could be worth extending a one-time courtesy as a refund to try to keep them happy and retain their loyalty. The earlier we lose a customer for any reason, the more likely it is that our CLV, customer lifetime value, will decrease. I thought about this after an extremely unpleasant experience with rentalcars.com and Avis Rental Car over $450. Even though I was picking up the car in Dallas, Avis claimed, that would be Dallas, Texas, America. Avis claimed that when I got there, that is, when I got there to pick up the car, Avis claimed they would not honor my reservation unless I could produce an Italian driver's license. I told them I live in Italy and I carry proof of Italian residency, but I do not yet have an Italian driver's license. I explained that all of my other rentalcars.com reservations have never required an Italian driver's license, only a valid driver's license. Plus, I'm in America and I'm showing them a valid American driver's license. Ultimately, Avis decided that they would not honor the reservation. They would mark me as a no-show and cancel it. Since the reservation was prepaid through rentalcars.com, they told me to contact rentalcars.com to pursue a refund. The next day, I contacted rentalcars.com and told them the story. They told me that they would consider giving me a $300 refund if I booked another car through them right now. Is this extortion? I've never seen any terms and conditions that require me to immediately do additional business with a company to get a refund on previous business done with the company. I'm angry. I'm dissatisfied. I'm asking for a refund. I do not want to book another car with rentalcars.com. While I waited for the chat agent to escalate this and get advice from someone else, I checked the terms and conditions of my rental, which indicated that I only needed to show a valid driver's license. I don't need to show a license of any particular country. Ultimately, my rental car booking was canceled by Avis because they invented terms and conditions that didn't exist. Here I have a screenshot of Avis's rental terms on the rentalcars.com website showing I only need a valid driving license. Rentalcars.com would not back me up on this for reasons they could not explain. They just kept writing in the chat, "We're sorry, Deborah." They would only offer me a partial refund if I booked another car with them immediately. This does not resolve my problem and only served to make me angrier and more frustrated. I lost trust for both companies, but this ripples out. Rentalcars.com is owned by Booking.com. I'm starting to think that my loyalty is best placed in the companies with whom I've had good experiences, and my brand loyalty was rewarded. I was loyal to rentalcars.com. I'd recently decided to try being 100% loyal to Booking.com, booking every hotel I needed through them. Now I'm thinking it'll be better to go back to booking both my rental cars and hotel rooms directly with companies and utilizing their loyalty programs. Rental car and hotel companies can make this easier on me by charging the same or less than I would find on Booking.com or rentalcars.com because ultimately this feels like a crappy game for everybody. In this story, Avis loses a first-time customer. Rentalcars.com loses a long-time customer. And although I'm just a few stays away from Genius Level 3 on Booking.com, they've also lost a customer. I understand that none of these companies might care that they've lost me. They might not care that I'm talking about it or writing an article about it. And I don't really expect them to care because I can tell from the way that my complaints were treated, someone decided that my $450 was worth playing games with what should have been clear terms and conditions. Someone at these companies decided that it was better to keep my $450 than to make an exception, even if they thought I didn't deserve the refund. Perhaps this indicates that on average, there is a very low CLV for Avis and or rentalcars.com, and that people are generally not loyal, because as we estimated earlier, a customer worth $10,000 might be worth even giving an undeserved $450 refund to smooth over a problem and win their loyalty. At a CLV of $1,000, perhaps it's not worth it to give away $450 refunds when you don't believe the customer deserves it. These companies probably hold meetings asking how they can generate more customer loyalty and a higher CLV. I wouldn't have all the answers for them without researching their internal processes, quantitative data, and doing some qualitative research with potential and current customers. But I do believe that part of the answer lies in this story. We can claim we care about customers, but we mostly care about them in numeric form, the lines on a spreadsheet and the numbers we present in slides. It's evidently more important for Avis or rentalcars.com to show my $450 in revenue this month, quarter, or year, plus the revenue of others in situations like mine where they didn't get a refund they deserved, than to consider the unfairness of the situation and give an appropriate refund where one is due. Just to be done with this situation, I might have accepted a $300 refund from rentalcars.com, but that was extended with conditions that were unacceptable. Again, this signals a need to make the numbers versus prioritizing customer satisfaction, especially in a case where the terms and conditions were in my favor and I deserve a full refund. Making a partial refund contingent on an additional purchase shows a desperation to inflate numbers like CLV or the total number of bookings the average customer makes in a period of time. This is where we see KPIs and metrics being treated as more important than customer experiences. Make sure your teams and company are having conversations about the value of a customer. The customer should always receive a refund when they are in the right and the terms and conditions are in their favor. How much of a refund are you willing to give to a customer who you believe is in the wrong and doesn't deserve the refund? Also consider the power of loyalty and word of mouth. Have you ever tracked complaints, disputes, and claims into your system and how often those customers buy from you again? Do you have a sense of what percentage of angry and frustrated customers return when they feel a sense of resolution versus when the situation is not resolved in their favor? If you've estimated or calculated that, you have a sense of how likely it is that the customer who believes that the situation was not satisfactorily resolved will buy from you again. You understand the risk of knowingly leaving them unhappy. You've already made them unhappy, and now you're going to leave them unhappy, and to them, unresolved. The ticket may be closed and marked resolved, but it is probably not resolved from the perspective of the customer. It's hard to estimate or calculate how much business you lose when an unhappy customer tells friends about their experience. That might be a Facebook post, a tweet, a blog post, or just a friendly conversation. Someone says, "Hey, we're going on vacation and we're going to rent a car." And the other person says, "Well, whatever you do, don't book with Avis or rentalcars.com. Listen to my story." Over 15 years ago, I heard the statistic that due to social media, an unhappy customer can quickly share that unhappiness with 3,000 people. That seems possible when we consider how many connections and followers people might have on social media sites where they might broadcast unhappiness with a brand. This then ripples out to people I don't even know. Someone says, "I have to travel out of town to go on a business trip and I'm gonna need to rent a car." And the other person says, "Oh, I follow Debbie Levitt on LinkedIn and she wrote this wild post about Avis and rentalcars.com. It sounds like you shouldn't book with them." The people in all of these hypothetical conversations might still have brand loyalty and certainly have free will. They might still book with Avis or rentalcars.com, but we must consider the risk of negative word of mouth. We have direct losses from the customer we couldn't retain, but we might also have indirect losses from people who heard a negative story firsthand, secondhand, or thirdhand from the unsatisfied customer. I'm not suggesting that you throw high-value, undeserved refunds at low-value customers. While I care about customer satisfaction and the customer experience, I know that the bottom line is money, and we must make calculated and deliberate decisions. I'm suggesting that we be clear about the value of a customer whose loyalty we're hoping to keep and win, and how we'll win and keep in that order, and how we empower customer support representatives to provide more satisfactory resolutions to problems we caused or are ultimately responsible for. Okay, that is my article. And let's take a look at today. All of your comments and questions will have to go in the Q&A. I'm not too sure why the chat wasn't turned on, but I promise to fix that for our next webinar, which is August 16th with our new quadrant. Karen says, wow, instead of asking you to book another car, I think they should ask about what went wrong. Yes, that is a good question. Ana Lucia says, unfortunately, I don't think they care. If they did, they wouldn't even try this. What a circus. Yeah, and of course, this article isn't just about this situation. I'm sure many of you have experienced similar situations where you know you were in the right and you just couldn't get something resolved in your favor, and ultimately you felt like you didn't want to do business with that company anymore. Now, whether or not you go and spread the word like I have, they've still lost your business. I have not booked with rentalcars.com again. I will not. I've not booked with Avis again. I'm going back to dollar, hashtag not sponsored, as we say here in the webinars. And as for booking.com, I canceled, I think, almost all of my upcoming trips with them and won't be booking anymore. Wouldn't it be interesting if their system noticed that? Now that's where we need behavior triggers. Who has learned behavior trigger? Emojis up, which is reactions here in Zoom. Who has learned behavior triggers from me? We'll have to do a fresh webinar on behavior triggers later this year. Ana Lucia says, this reminds me a lot of the Airbnb horror stories I've been reading about. Stories like the guest finding out there are cameras everywhere, including the bathroom, and one pointing to the bed, reporting the situation to Airbnb and them saying it's against the terms and conditions, so just walk away, a refund will be processed, and then backing out when it's too late and making the person fight a legal battle to get their money back. Yeah, remember, just because a lawyer says you can get away with this doesn't mean you should. This is where company values and ethics should enter the conversation, in addition to the conversations we might want to have about customer lifetime value, the value of a customer lifetime, which is its own metric of how long we can keep a customer. Amy's here. Good to see you. Wow, what amazing short-sightedness on the part of Avis and Booking.com, especially with social media amplifying the damage that one customer story can do to the brand. Yeah, congratulations. They got my $450. Was it worth it? I'm never coming back. Was it still worth it? I'm talking about it. Was it still worth it? Now, of course, we don't want to be guilty of extortion ourselves. We don't want to write to a company and say, if you don't give me my money back, I'm going to badmouth you or write a bad blog post or leave a bad review. That can be considered extortion, and we don't want to do that. That can be illegal. So we want to make sure that we are not saying that anything that is done is because that's what the company chose to do. That's what matches their policies. So do not fight crappy things with crappy things. Thank you for that, Amy. Let me see. I don't have a way to dismiss that, but thank you. Karen says, are there any metrics or factors we can consider when determining the impact of refunds? How can we track if refunds have a positive impact? Perhaps people can request a refund and get it and still be talking about their negative experience. Absolutely, you run that risk. You run the risk that you're out the money and the person says, I had this terrible experience with Booking.com and, they gave me my money back, but I still think they're losers and I'm not going to work with them again. You run that risk. Or you run the risk, for example, here's a great example. I got charged the other day for another year of a service I was using to broadcast out my podcast. Many of you know I'm not really doing the podcast thing. I have a podcast playlist on the YouTube channel, YouTube CX-CC, and you can follow that for sure, but I'm not using a podcast service anymore. So I meant to cancel it, but I hadn't done it yet. All of a sudden, I got an email. you've been charged X dollars for the next year. And I wrote them back and I said, whoa, I was just about to cancel. Am I too late? And they wrote back and they said, nope, we have a 1 week grace period. If you cancel in the next week, we'll give you a full refund. And I thought that was extremely fair. And so I did cancel. But even though I canceled, and I'll say who it was Podbean, Podbean. Again, not sponsored, but that's who I was using. And I think if I had to go back, maybe I would go back to them again, because that ended up being an okay experience. So again, you run that risk, but I think you can tie these metrics together, which I think is ultimately your question. We can look at a lot of metrics. Did people who had something resolved, for example, let's say after a customer support experience, we give people a survey. Now we know if they were happy with the customer support experience or not happy. We can then see, are the people who were happy with that, do they come back and do business with us again? Some won't and some will. Can we bring those metrics together? Is there a delay between the audio and video? Is it just me? There might be. I'm working on that too. Sorry, all new stuff, all new setup, and needs a little help. Number two, we could take a look at, did people who surveyed that they had a negative experience with customer support end up not doing business again? Or did they say they had a negative experience and they came back? So I think there are some metrics we can watch, especially over the long term, to see, do these people come back, positive experiences and negative experiences? Do they come back more than other customers who maybe had no customer support experiences? Is there an average? So yeah, sorry about a little bit of the technical issues today where audio and video wasn't well synced. I will be working on that, but we've got to start somewhere and test out the new system. So maybe we'll hold a random secret Zoom meeting before the next one so we can bang these out. So but we'd like to keep these to about 25 minutes, so I'm going to wrap up here and thank everybody for coming to today's webinar. Please note that this will go up shortly on, I'm going to re-edit the beginning so that there's sound when the video plays, and I'll do that, and then I'll get it up on YouTube as an unlisted video for Patreons only. So if you'd like to pay at least $1 a month, you can get the recording right away. Otherwise, it will be public on YouTube in about 2 weeks, and that's what we're doing to make sure our Patreons get some early access and a lot more direct access to me, and also making sure there aren't algorithms between us anymore. So thank you again to everybody for coming to our first webinar adventure, and let's do a practice between now and the next one so we can bang out some of these technical issues. So let's see, I'm gonna sign off, which luckily does not require sound, so I can just play the fire video and wrap everything up and say thank you. So thanks again, everybody, and see you in the next one.